Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be joining you tonight, and I'm excited that you're going to be here with me for the next hour, or about an hour. We're going to talk about a couple of things that I think are important with being a single adult in the church, and, just in general. So I have a few topics planned, and I'm going to share my screen here real quick. I have a PowerPoint, so you should still be able to see me in a box somewhere on your screen. It just got minimized, but now you can see my PowerPoint. If you cannot see my PowerPoint, I need to know. And also I just remembered I need to be able to share this on Facebook. I'm not worried about that right now, actually. No. So with the PowerPoint. So basically, just a few ground rules here. I try to stay as positive and uplifting and encouraging as possible, and you'll need to bear with me because of all the times for me to get this, I have laryngitis, and actually right now my voice is doing pretty good, which I'm kind of excited about. Lord's helping me answering a prayer here. So I'm hoping it lasts. I do have a little warm drink here next to me that hopefully will help soothe as we go throughout as well, because I'll be doing a lot of talking. But if you have any questions or want to make a comment or whatever, just raise your hand and I will unmute you, and then you're welcome to make your comment or a question. Okay? All right, so basically, we're going to be having different discussions. I'll be doing this every week. So the way this came about is I've been thinking about it for a while, but had a lot going on with my family, and so I just have been feeling like this is just something that needs to be done. We just needed to talk. So let me go back to stop my screen share here real quick. So who am I, right? Who's Paula Sherrill? Some of you know me, some of you do not. So I am a stake single adult rep in the Athens, Georgia stake, but I am also, I've been given an assignment, and I think I've had this assignment now 3 years maybe, in the Atlanta, Georgia area as the committee leader in the Atlanta, Georgia for the region. So over 12 stakes, North and South missions, North and South Atlanta kind of thing. I head up the committee, and we plan different events and activities and whatever, and it's going great. I love it. I love what I'm doing. I love working with the people. I have a very strong testimony of the single adult program. I think it is very needed, and I think that that everybody can benefit from it in some way. But there are, there's different ups and downs. There's different things that we all need to deal with or work with or whatever. And we're all at different stages at being a single adult in the church. So I am a single mom of 5 kids. They are grown. I'm excited to say, it's a little bittersweet actually. I sent my youngest off on a mission just last week to Brazil, and that has been the hardest for me. But I'm excited for him. I know he's excited, and he'll do great. I have 2 sons that are married. I have been single for almost 12 years. April will be 12 years when I became the only parent to my 5 children, and 10 and a half years since my divorce. I think 11 years this year. So, and I was in let's just say there was domestic abuse going on, and it was tough. So I have raised my kids, and I'm excited that They're now grown. But I love them. I think they're all awesome people. And I have 4 sons and a daughter. I have 2 that are married. I do have 1 grandson that came to me through one of those marriages, which I'm excited about. He's 11. Actually, he's almost 12, so that's even better. Anyway, so that's a little bit about who I am. We can get more into who I am later, but that's just a little bit of background on who I am and what I do. And my testimony of the single adult program is just huge. I do work with a lot of people. I work with a lot of different single adults from varying backgrounds, from varying experiences. And even though I work with the committees to plan events and plan all these awesome things going on, what I've realized is that the single adults as a whole, we don't really get to sit around and talk about things. And so that's what I'd like to do, is just kind of have this be just a weekly time for us to talk about some things. And we're going to talk about personal development. We're going to talk about parenting. We're going to talk about single parenting. We're going to talk about dating. And we're going to talk about the program itself. And that's the gist of what we're going to talk about. Now let me go back to sharing my PowerPoint here. And then let me do this. So let me make sure it's going from where it needs to. There we go. So I don't want to get into any bashing. I don't want to do any bashing of exes or leaders or whatever. What I do want to start off with, though, is, and what I'm looking for, I have a couple of priesthood leaders that are going to be joining us at some point. So yeah, so we will be bringing in different people throughout as panelists as well. But if ever you have a question or comment, please feel free to raise your hand. In the meantime, what I also want to do is talk to you just a few minutes about how we want to run this program, or how I want to run this program. I'm so used to saying we, it's really me. I don't have multiple personalities or anything. But we are going to be talking more in generalities. If anyone feels so inclined to share a little bit about their history, that's fine. We just don't want to get into great details. I am not a therapist, and as much as I love helping people, that's not something that I'm qualified to do. And so so I would love to be able to talk to you just in generalities or whatever, maybe things you've learned from your experiences or that kind of thing. And I have 2 leaders that were planning to get on here tonight, and I'm not seeing them yet. Who
are you looking for, Paula?
I'm looking for Matt Kreiser.
Oh.
And Brother Mahler, Terry Mahler. Were they on there?
I don't see him.
I don't see him. That's okay. All righty. So anyway, so basically the messages from the leaders, I want to start off the call every week because from messages from the leaders, and maybe what I could do is just pre-record them, because so many of them do just love and care about us so much, and that's something that I feel like hold on a second. Okay. All right, we're good now. All right. So that they do just really love and care about us. And I don't know if they're having an issue with a link or whatever, but I do know one of them actually called me. He was so excited to be able to be a part of this, but I'm not. Oh, wait. I do have one of them. Oh, wait, Brother Mahler's on. Brother Mahler, can you hear me? Brother Mahler, can you hear me? No. All right. Okay, so Brother Mahler, looks like we have him on. Can you hear me? It looks like you're muted. We're trying to unmute you. Are we having technical difficulties? Possibly. Anyway, so when you're able to come on, Brother Mahler, if you would just let me know, and then I'll be more than happy to turn some time over for you so that you can give a message to the single adults, because I would love for you to share that. All righty. In the meantime, let's go back to this. So with personal development, we're going to be talking about a few different things. One is we're going to be talking about a relationship with the Lord. There's a few things that we can definitely work on while we're single, and that is one of them. I mean, we need to do that throughout our life anyway, right? But we definitely need to be working on that for sure. So many of us have dealt with so many different things throughout our life, and we want to make sure that we are right with the Lord. Whatever stage we're in, whatever life experiences we've had, whatever perspectives we're going through, we want to make sure that our relationship with the Lord stays intact. And a lot of times people feel like, well, if the Lord really cared, this wouldn't have happened. Or maybe they blame the Lord for different things, or maybe they think the Lord has forgotten them or whatever. I can assure you that He has not. Even in my own case, it was really kind of interesting when, so my last husband was arrested for the domestic abuse issues, and my bishop called me into to his office the first couple of weeks after that, and it was kind of funny because, well, not really funny at the time, but now looking back, he's like, Paula, I just want to make sure that you're okay, which was, he wanted to do that. I was grateful for that. But he also wanted to make sure that I wasn't blaming the Lord or the church for what had happened. And I remember looking at him almost like he had two heads, and I'm like, why would I do that? The Lord didn't make him do what he did. He had choices, he had agency to do what he did. And that's one thing that I believe in. I believe strongly in the gospel, and I believe strongly in the power of agency. We all have choices. We can choose our attitude, we can choose our perspective, we can choose how we think, our mindset. And at that point, I had a choice. I had a choice to be better or better. I had a choice to blame every man for what had happened, or I had a choice to, to learn from it and to grow from it. And I did. Now, it has been a journey. It's been kind of an up and down journey, but I kind of like where I've landed. I didn't necessarily like how it started out, But where I'm at now is good. So anyway, so that is just one of the things that when you're going through being single, you just want to make sure that you have a relationship with the Lord. So vitally important. All right. Now, your mindset is so ultra important. So as a man thinketh, so is he. I love that phrase. I also love the phrase of, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you believe you deserve. And that is something that shifted my way of thinking so much. Our mindset, be it positive or negative, completely up to you. Now, you can think, oh, but you don't understand. I can tell you that honestly, I feel like in many ways I've been to hell and back. I have experienced, for me, my worst nightmare. I don't ever want to relive it. And I have often said, nothing will be as bad as what I felt then. Now, could it be? Possibly. I definitely don't want to challenge it. But it was pretty bad and it was pretty devastating. But moving on, it has been such a growth experience for me. And so that's something that I have learned greatly, is that the mindset is huge. Our hobbies, getting into things that interest us, what we spend our time on is so very important. It's very important that we develop who we are, that we talk about different things that are so important to be able to develop who we are and to be able to become who we need to be. All right. So at this point, we are at a point where, we want to talk about some different things with discovering who we are and about developing who we are and becoming who the Lord wants us to be. Again, very important. I have with me a few people that I get to work with on a committee. And so I have invited them to share some thoughts as well today. And we will get to them in just a little bit. But I want to invite different people throughout this webinar series to be able to discuss different topics. The next topic we're going to talk about is parenting. But before we get to single parenting, Roger and Alyssa, is there anything that you guys would want to share with us?
I'm sorry, I just jumped on.
That's okay. We're talking about personal development while we're single.
Oh.
All right. Brother Mahler, can you hear me? I don't know if they can hear me at all. Oh, well.
Paula, I just think attending the temple really helps. Attending the temple helps. And then, because it gives you that purpose in your guide, even when because I'm only 33. So I don't have a lot of experience. But I think it gives you that sense of peace and the calm just to know that you're not alone. And then he will guide you where you need to be when you need to be there.
Right.
And that's what I've learned so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I have seen the temple change a lot of people. Here in Atlanta, we do a second Saturday temple session at 3:00. Then we go to dinner at a local restaurant. We have a dance at the building behind the temple. And when we go to the temple, I have found different people through the years will come up to me and say, Paula's the first time I've been at the temple in 20-something years, or the first time I've been at the temple in 13 years, or, whatever. So, hey, Brother Mahler, can you hear me? No? Okay. Anyway, so I have seen and I've witnessed the temple just change people and be able to, I've been there for people who have come back to the temple for the first time.
Oh,
Hey! Okay, I think he's trying. Brother Mahler's trying to get on. I don't know what's going on there. He's having some technical difficulties.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yay!
Well, this is so funny. I finally went and changed my settings, and my this says I'm done speaking, but when I click done speaking, this one allows me to start speaking.
That sounds hilarious. Okay.
So anyway, sorry about that.
No problem. I figured it was technical difficulties. So I just wanted to just give you a couple minutes to just share a message with the single adults.
Okay. Well, I'm on the High Council in the Roswell stake, and I know we have people on the call from quite a few different areas. From what I can see, there's about 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be here. I've been listening to. I got on a little bit late for the same technical difficulties that caused me not to be able to talk for a little bit. One of the things that I think about is that we've with the a lot of the changes that are happening in the church lately, which are wonderful, and I feel really inspired and personally feel an impact about, is the emphasis on, I think, a different level of discipleship than maybe that's been asked of us in the past. And I think it's very deeply personal. And I think there's an opportunity for all of us, regardless of being single or married or any status around that,
Mm-hmm.
to step up and to grow in a different way. You talked a little bit about our relationship with the Lord at the beginning, Paul, and I think that we're really being invited to strengthen that in a pretty unique way, and some doors have opened for us to do that haven't been opened before. And so from a kind of a single adult perspective, I mean, I think it's not just certainly their responsibility, but it's our responsibility as leaders and as fellow members to make sure that happens, and that it happens for all of us broadly, and that we are able to recognize how the Lord wants that to happen and try to cooperate as best we can. And that includes members that are single, widowed, divorced, married, and all of those categories in between. It doesn't really make any difference. I was in a Sunday school class a couple of weeks ago, and there was a sister in there who had recently married and made a very interesting observation. She said, I thought, I'm not sure what I thought, but I thought things would be more different than they are when it comes to discipleship. But I find that I'm really working on the same things I was before I got married. I'm trying to overcome the same things. And the path hasn't really changed a whole lot for me in terms of trying to follow the Lord and strengthen my relationship with Him. And I thought that was really good and kind of enlightening. And I don't know what everybody else's experiences of that is on the front end or the middle or the back end of that. But it really struck me that that is the common ground, and it's almost all common ground. There's not a whole lot of uncommon ground when it comes to that.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so important that we do emphasize discipleship. That's one thing that I say a lot with the single adults, is that we're all single at the same time for some reason. I don't know why. But But we do need to, one of the things I love about our program is that we are there to uplift and encourage each other and to be there for each other. And I call us just a big old group of friends. And it's kind of awesome that way, to be able to use that power of discipleship, the power of being able to work with each other and to be there for each other. And it's just really kind of huge. So thank you so much for sharing that and reminding us of that.
You're welcome, Paula. And I guess, for the group, and one of the questions as a leader is, how do we get in the way of you being able to do that better?
How do we what?
How do we get in the way of your being able to do that better? And how do we get out of the way so you can do that better?
Well, dang, we can even open that up that's a great question. That's a pretty heavy question. We can probably open that up to others as well. If you want to answer that question, please raise your hand, and I can unmute you. But I think for us, it would be really helpful just to be able to make sure that our events are announced and are available, and that single adults are supported. A lot of single adults feel kind of forgotten, sadly, and they feel kind of lost, and they feel kind of like, not everybody, I know I don't, but some people feel like, they're just kind of out there. And I know that some of it's just human nature for some of the leaders to just not really know what to do with single adults. But I think a lot of it is just making sure that we're supported, and that things are announced, and that things are that they're encouraged to go to. There's a myth with the single adult program, and we're going to end with a single adult program here in a little bit. There's a myth with a single adult program that it's all about dating. It's all about matchmaking, and it's not. While there are people that do want to get married, I know I certainly do, and there are people that have a desire to do that. That is not its sole purpose, and it's not even in the handbook to do that. But yet, there's no better place to meet somebody than at a single adult event, if that is what they choose to do. But there's also no better place than at a single adult event to make friends, and to have a support group, and to do fun things together, and to build unity. So sometimes it gives an outlet, and it gives a place of friendship for people to do that. So for me, I know that is the big thing that for me, I would love to see that. Just have more people able to talk. I mean, able to be there to announce our program. Does that make sense? To support the program. Does that make sense? Hopefully that made sense.
It does.
Okay. And then we have Roger that also has raised their hand.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
I think one of the ways that the lead can help the program, and it's fairly simple, but it's something so important. And you touched on it, Paula, and Brother Mahler did too. But the communicating through their unit or their units that they work with, more about what the single adult program is, where and when the events happen, and in maybe even some cases helping some of the single adults actually getting to the event if they need that assistance. I think so many of them, you and I have both heard them say, a lot of them say, well, I didn't know anything about that, or I didn't hear about that, or I could have gone if I'd had a ride, or various things like that. So communicating the program, making sure the people that they're responsible for in their units hear about it, have resources and ability to participate as much as possible.
Are there people on the call in states where they feel that's done, what Roger said is done well? And how is it done well in your worlds?
Quite honestly, I don't think it's done well in any state, not in the Atlanta area.
Got it.
So maybe you guys can be our example.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I was serious about it. I thought, well, gee,
Yeah.
there's lots of different ways to do it, and some probably are more effective than others. And I thought if somebody was experienced that in a good way, said, oh well, in our state we do this, and it really works, and it reaches people. And that's why I'm asking, because I would love to have a best practice, and if there isn't one, we'll work on it, and that's okay.
I do know that in our state we have done it where we are invited as state single adult reps to go and visit the wards during ward conference. So like we can go and attend the ward council before the ward conference. And then, attend the meetings with them. But generally, I would make an announcement during Relief Society, and if the male rep was there, or the state presidency member over the single adults or whatever was there, they would make the announcements, and priesthood. And a lot of times we would do that. Last year was a different year for me, so I kind of got out of it. But this year I plan to get back into attending the ward conferences. Someone else also suggested possibly going to visit the wards each quarter. So if we could somehow just give it a face and give it a name and give it some attention in the states, I think that would be helpful. Also, it's been suggested that we do like the Come Follow Me together as single adults. So that would be something also that could be helpful. And maybe even having a monthly home evening group together, and not really separate the groups. Like there's been a lot of, I have found that whenever stakes get into cliques or smaller groups, that there tends to be more of a breakdown and more of an issue. All right, Wynn, did you have a comment to that?
Yes, and I don't know if you're able to hear me or not.
I can hear you.
Okay, one of the things that I have tried to stress in my state, which doesn't have a single adult program that's official, is that the majority of our single adults are not active. Over 90% of them are not active. And they're not even coming to church. So they don't hear these announcements. They don't have activities or people that visit with them to try and bring them to anything. Somebody mentioned earlier about not having transportation. Some people are just, if there was an activity, they would refuse to come just because they think it's just a dating game, and they don't have the education to know that it's not just supposed to be a dating activity.
Right. That is true.
And so we need to be able to reach out to the individuals that are staying closed up in their houses rather than coming into meetings or even coming to church, because so many of them are inactive.
Okay, there's a couple of things I'd like to say to that. One is, I know that we are a third of the adult population in the church. So that is, just in case anybody wonders, we single adults, 31 and older, are a third of the adult population in the church. And we do have about 70 to 80%, depending on where you're at, inactivity rate. The majority of which are men in their early 30s. And I think it was the late 40s, or the majority of those. But I don't know. There's a part of me that just feels like I don't really want to go chase people down either. This calling is exhausting, or can be, and it takes a long time. I mean, I put hours in. Like, this is a part-time job for me, and I get blessings from heaven kind of thing. Okay. So to spend my time hunting down people that want to stay in their house, I'll let them stay in their house. I want to work with people that want to come out, that want to be there, that are ready, that feel like they are. And in future weeks, we're going to talk about different stages of that we all go through after a divorce, different stages of different things. We're going to talk about a lot of different things in the future times, but for now, I think we're just going to be kind of hitting on that right now. Linda, you had a comment?
Hi, I don't know if this
I
is
can hear you.
okay. I am not in your area, but I came from a pretty successful area in Bentonville, Arkansas. And I moved to the Greenville stake in Greenville, South Carolina, and I am in Spartanburg Ward. But I did enjoy your meeting in an activity that I attended. And I just wanted to know, let you know that I was kind of listening in because I would like to help stir the fire over here because we don't have a state rep or anything like that. So I'm listening in for those kind of ideas. But I would like to say this, we had a really great group, but it does take the help of the high councilman in the area and the leaders to make sure that they put somebody in place to give you the people that you need underneath you to help support you, and to find those that would like to volunteer in each ward and each state to be.
Right. That's awesome. Well, I know that.
So that's what we had there. We had somebody in each state, in each ward, and we invited them to come to planning meetings, that kind of thing. And it was really working really well, and I enjoyed it a lot.
And I can honestly tell you, Linda, that it just takes one person to make a difference. It just takes one person to make things happen. And I don't have time, nor do I really want to share with you tonight the whole history of what I've been through in the last, 6.5 years that I've had this calling. But it takes us all working together, even if it was two of us, to make things happen, even if it was just one of us. I have shown up at events years ago when I was in charge of something and I was the only one setting up. I was it. And we made that happen. I made that happen. So it can be done. But I would recommend that you start with your stake leaders. That would be the best thing. All right, and then one more, Kathleen. You had your hand up? Uh-oh, I can't unmute you though.
There, does that work?
Yay, I can hear you.
Yay. Okay, so I recently moved to Tennessee, where there's several different stakes, but they don't seem to have a coordinated effort. I moved from Texas, and although I wasn't in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I lived about 2 hours south of there. I got involved with the area there, and they had actually a single adult council that was a compilation from multiple stakes. I want to say 14, don't hold me to that. And they were able to coordinate activities in such a way that almost every weekend there's a potluck, there's a fireside, there's a service project, there's a dance. And because of the coordinated effort in a relatively populous area, people would come, and as did I, from a couple of hours away to participate. And I'm still, in fact, linked in with a great number of those people, even though I'm now 10 hours away. And have made great friends as a result.
Right.
I'm putting that out as almost a best practices type thing, and that there was a rotation amongst the stakes so that every spring and every fall, there would be a single adult conference, if you will, that would have workshops and service projects and activities that were a part of it. And that would rotate amongst the various states so that, so with 14, I think there were 14 states. So basically every 7th year, a state would be responsible for hosting said conference and being able to provide speakers or facilitate the process and use a building. And I'm, like I said, I just thought it worked really well from an observer's point of view. Since Brother Mayer asked for best practices.
Thank you.
Okay. So awesome. So that is actually how we do that here, Kathleen. We have 12 stakes that we do work together, and we have found, I agree with you, that works the best. To have us all with the same focus and be unified, and that is huge. But not everybody is from an area that works. I don't know how many stakes are in your area where you live.
7.
Okay. So yeah, so maybe you can suggest that, or maybe you can talk with one of the stake leaders and see about.
Well, even when I was in Texas, the stake that I was a part of there, which was, like I said, south of there, literally our ward was the southernmost for that particular. They divided it up by temple districts. So our ward was this, and our stake was the southernmost of the temple districts. Our stake didn't really participate with the council very well. And with my own bishopric, I would tell them there's this activity going on in Dallas there, and they wouldn't publicize it in the, like in the ward bulletins or on the Facebook group or the website for the stake. Instagram, I'm trying to think of all the things that they were trying to implement. That's frustrating. But in my area, they don't have it does not appear that there's a coordinated council.
There may not be. Maybe you can ask. All right, so we're gonna, so at this point, I know the coordinating council I think is huge, or whatever you want to call it, but a combined effort with a multi-stake thing. I think that is very important. And I feel like there are just so many different issues around that. So that would be kind of huge. But if you can get that to work out, that would be awesome. So at this point, with we are going to, Brother Mahler, did that help at all? Did that answer any of your questions?
Yeah, any feedback is worth it, and I get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, quite honestly, Kathleen, as far as announcements go, that's all around. Nobody's immune to that. My own ward doesn't put it in their announcement, and I'm in the ward checking it every Sunday. And I send it to them, So, I mean, it's all good. I've learned a workaround as much as I can. I have created an email list. We do Facebook groups. We do online calendars. We do other things. So that if anyone is missed, then there's a way around that. But I even do a text remind group, and I mean, there's just different things to be able to help people be able to get the announcements. But a lot of it does need to come first from them. Is that something that they want? Or now, I don't believe that everybody needs to make the first initial thing, because sometimes people just need an invitation. There are people that want to feel wanted and want to feel needed and want to feel included, because this is, for some people, just an awful state to be in, kind of thing, right? Especially if you've just gone through a divorce and you're going through the stage in the church. I don't know if other people go through this stage. I did when I was divorced of, oh my goodness, I waited my whole life for a temple marriage, and now this, I was never going to get a divorce. And now I've gone through a divorce. And how painful that is. in just feeling like, okay, now what? Now where do I fit in this church? Now, where is it? Where's my spot now, kind of thing. Sorry, laryngitis is getting to me here. So either way, whenever, when you're dealing with the church and dealing with trying to fit in and trying to figure out your place with single adults, we're going to be talking about this so much more in the weeks ahead. And it looks like I've got a couple other people that want to make a comment or have a question. Let's see. No, hold on. Oh, wait, there you are. Peggy, did you have a comment? Peggy, did you have a comment? I don't know if you can hear me. Peggy, can you hear me? Okay, and I don't know how to pronounce this name, but Adiela?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, did you have a comment?
Yes, well, let me tell you this. I came from Colombia 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
To be honest, expecting something different. I've been a widow person since 2011, and I moved here because of work. I never thought that I would end up being here in the United States, but I thought that it would be like the best blessing because of like church and things. I came here to a small area where the first thing that I found was the chapel. They opened their arms for me. They received me like, wow, it was huge. And I really felt welcome, and I still feel welcome. However, when I started to finding out that things here, there, and everywhere are the same, like I was always fighting for the primary. I was always thinking about like my stake president was always asking me like, you need to find a husband, you need to get married, you cannot continue being single. I was like, and what should I do? Where is gonna happen? And but we don't have anything here in my stake. I belong to the Kingston stake in North Carolina, and we don't have anything. Like
what stake are you in?
Kingston stake in Washington. I'm sorry, in North Carolina.
How close are you to Charlotte?
Wow, far, like 5 hours.
Oh, never mind. Okay, well, so you're closer to Raleigh?
No, well, kind of. I'm 2 hours from Raleigh.
No, never mind. Oh, wow.
Yeah, even though in between our stake, I live 1 hour from the stake center and 30 minutes from the next chapel, like the nearest chapel. I mean, that's not the problem. The problem is like, for example, I don't know if you have seen like on Facebook that there was a member of our stake who tried to create activities for the single adults in our stake, but nobody responded. And that's frustrating. I understand him. And but unfortunately for me, like every time that I have tried to attend, sorry, one of the activities that you have planned, there is always something that I can go.
Right.
And I went to the conference in Washington, D.C. in September. That was great. I met some people there. I met some friends, but that was all. I mean, I've never talked to them over again. And I saw like when you go to those kind of things or activities, you are like with the same people that you know. You are like, you don't open your comfort zone. So for me, it was kind of frustrating and not nice traveling all those hours and like making all those expenses for just coming back. And I said like, no, I just met 3 people and I have never been in contact with them anymore. So I think that we are not like completely open to those kind of things. I don't know how you deal with that when you have the activities, but here in my stake, we don't have anything. And I know that we are like many singles. And I would like, I could be like, be in contact with them and just being friends. We don't need to be dating all the time. I
So,
would like some people from the church that I can share and talk about.
okay. So do you remember when I said earlier one person can make a difference? You can have a home evening group in your ward or stake or whatever without a calling. You can get a list of your single adults, 31 and up. It's a custom list from your ward clerk. And if you have a stake calling, you get it from the stake. Or if you can let them know what you want to do, maybe they'll give it to you. I don't know. But if you don't have a stake rep, then that's what I'd recommend doing. So in your ward, just let your bishop know, hey, I want to invite the single adults for a home evening group. Every ward averages anywhere from 80 to 140 single adults. Every ward. Most of those are, again, less active. But I would focus on the active ones. And you can get with the missionaries, get with the Society president, get with the Elders Quorum president, and create a home evening group. And start there. So that's what I'd recommend for you to do that. Then you can develop your own group of friends. If you don't want to do a home evening group, maybe an activity night or something like that so that you do something once a month. But either way, that's one way that you can go out to make a difference in your own ward and in your stake. And I promise you that if you do that, it will make a difference. It's not going to happen all of a sudden. I can tell you now, when I started the temple trips back in 2012, it was fall of 2012 when I was called as a stake rep. We weren't doing temple trips then. They were just doing the second Saturday dance, and that was it. When I started doing those and advertising those, I went 6 months where I was pretty much the only person that showed up to those sessions. I spent many sessions where I was the only one, the only single adult person in that session. I remember one month there was 4 of us. I was like, woohoo, celebrate. Give it time, it will grow. Persistence is going to be huge.
And communication.
Yeah, definitely communication. Yeah, just definitely don't give up. Tom, I saw you had your hand raised. Did you want to make another comment?
You pretty much said it all. About, starting when you don't have any stake, help or anything like that. Yeah. You can just do it privately.
Yep. I'm telling you, people, you can make a difference. I don't want to hear any of you say, well, I don't have a stake rep, or I don't have a ward rep, or I don't have a whatever. What you do have is you. You have you, and you can make a difference. Now, you can go back to, I don't have time, or I don't have da-da-da-da-da. But, that's totally up to you. Maybe between you and somebody else, you two can make it happen. Maybe you can partner with somebody and make it happen. But I can promise you that you can go out to make a difference. I've seen it. I have seen it because I have done it. I did it in my stake. I did it in creating the temple trips here in Atlanta. And now people think, oh, well, if we don't do a temple, I'm not going to just come to the dance. I've heard them say that now. Whereas before, that was all they did do. Wynn, did you have another comment? Hold on. Where are you at? Oh, there you are.
I started inviting. Oh, have I just been unmuted?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. For Adiela, a few years back, we have no stake program here. And I have been trying for years to get one started. And a few years back, I actually got a list of all the people, the single adults in the ward. And because I have been going to conferences in 4 other states, not just states, but states, I've met people. And I just started inviting everybody over once a year to cook out use my pool, sing karaoke, dance on the deck. And we've had small groups, usually about 9 or 10, and we've had a great time. And those are people that are regular support for each other. And they're from, a bunch of different states. But I don't have anything here local, but I have people from other places that come over. So that's another idea. It doesn't have to be a regular monthly meeting. It can be just doing something in the summer. I think that's how, if I remember correctly, that's how the guy that does rock, Carl Fleischer, that's how he got started, because he was in my stake, and when I first became single 10 years ago, and he was doing Rock the Dock back then.
Right.
And he was doing it on his own before he ever got help from the state to do it. So,
Okay.
yeah, we do it as individuals.
Yeah. And I will tell you, honestly, from my experience, consistency is amazing. It does help to have more consistency. Okay, we are coming up on our time, but I did want to finish up with a couple of things. One is I want to, oh wait, Peggy, you're unmuted now. Did you have a comment?
Can you? Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, what I wanted to say is I'm one of the stake single adult reps in the Savannah, Georgia stake, and I've got Chuck Lanier here with me. He's my male counterpart, and but we have very large turnouts, but we have a lot of older singles, and I don't know if this is another time to address this or not, but a lot of the older singles, or Chuck and I are both old, so we fall in that category, but they like to do things during the day. And then you've got some younger ones. It's like we're having trouble melding the different age groups. There's the mid singles don't have anything going on. So when we invite them, we don't have very good turnout with the mid singles. And so it's kind of, we're thinking that maybe we need to go visit the wards individually. We do go on the state conference, on the ward conference days. But I was wondering, do you have any advice? Do you deal with that in the single adults you work with, the age difference and not wanting to go out at night, some having trouble driving, or
Right.
what have you experienced with that?
Yeah, generally the older people do have issues with going out at night, not wanting to drive at night. But I have found that even when you make it earlier, a lot of them still don't come out. I tried that. But either way, if you can give a ride, and if not, that's okay. We'll serve those that we can serve, and that's going to have to be good enough. Because not everybody, as much as this program I feel like is for everyone, not everybody's going to embrace it or is not ready for it. Everybody's going to be ready for it at different stages, okay? So as far as the older group goes, they're a whole different dynamic. You get 80 and above, they're a different dynamic. They're different events, different activities, different mindsets, different perspectives, different everything, right? And then you generally will get the others. It's just different. And then, see, someone says use your statistics that Paula's given and go to your stake asking them for your help. Consistency. Even if only one shows up. I'm telling you, I celebrate the one. I have one. I remember there was even one person that showed up. I hugged him and I probably cried. I was like, thank you for coming. It helps.
Okay.
And then use the specifics that they don't want you traveling for 5 hours to always go out of your state to attend an activity that makes it hard for you and other single adults to go to the next day. Hopefully they'll see a need. We can hope.
Well, thank you.
All right. Hopefully, oh wait, hold on. Okay, we got one more. Chad.
Hey, is there any mid-singles groups out in Atlanta, like a ward or anything?
We have a magnet ward, but no, we don't have a mid-single adult group.
Yeah, so it's just a mix. It's just a mixture. I planted a seed in my stake president out here in Chattanooga. I said, hey, there's a plethora of mid-singles all throughout this whole region in here and everything, all the way through Atlanta and everything. I said, who do we got to talk to about getting a mid-singles ward out here in Georgia and everything? I mean, Arizona has 4 alone, and there's areas out here, there's more mid-singles out here than there was in certain parts of Arizona, so we could really use one and everything. But I think we all need to start talking to stake presidents. I know one of the apostles is coming out here next month to my stake conference. I'm trying to talk with my stake president to see if I can capture maybe even 2 minutes of his time to say, hey, we really need this out here so we all can meet each other and everything. I mean, it's great to have all these activities and everything, but we're also spread out abroad, and there's 20 different Facebook groups. So it's hard to find out events going on. So
Chad, it's actually one that we have tried. I know, Brother Mahler, I don't know if your stake was involved with this or not, but I know President Sandridge of the Atlanta stake did try to get together a mid-single adult ward there, or branch or something, for a while. But we did not have the priesthood backing, because there's so many priesthood that have to be on record in that ward to be able to create it, and we just didn't have that. So it's not going to happen in Atlanta right now. I do know that the Roswell stake does host a magnet ward in the Peachtree Corners ward. Basically, I think they meet with the family ward, correct me if I'm wrong, Brother Mahler, and then they meet for Sunday school together, and then they go with their ward to really study in priesthood.
That's correct.
Okay. So, and about how many people attend that?
A couple dozen.
Okay. So right now we just don't have enough of a need. I know that we may have a lot of mid-single adults on record, but we don't have enough of a need for people to do that for Sunday. So right now we do have various activities and events and whatever, and that's really where the bulk of our support comes from anyway, because you can sit in church on Sunday during sacrament meeting or Sunday school or Blue City, whatever, and listen to the speakers, but we're not really interacting, which is fine, right? That's Sunday. That's the day of the Lord. But for right now, we want to focus more on just our events and our activities and coming together and supporting each other and encouraging each other, uplifting each other, being friends for each other. And that's pretty huge. So that's what we're going to focus on right now. All right, so we're going to move on. I'm going to let's see, where are we at? Go back to the PowerPoint real quick. All right, so single parenting, I know that this is pretty huge. This will affect some of us, but not all of us. But I can tell you, after raising 5 of my kids on my own for the last 12 years, or almost 12 years, this has been kind of huge. And the number one thing you can do for your child's self-esteem and resilience is not to talk negatively about the other parent, period. No matter how bad my ex-husband did what he did, what I decided to do was to stop talking about it. Just stop talking about it. So it didn't matter. to them. And I needed to go through some therapy, and I went through a couple of years of therapy. They did too, actually, but we didn't. But I tried to make the conversations we had about him constructive, so it did not hurt their self-esteem any more than what it was already done. And so I believe that was very beneficial. And I have found that over and over and over again, because a kid, no matter how old they are, they're always going to blame themselves, no matter what the conditions. And make sure that you spend time with them. Make sure you spend quality time with them. They will mirror you. So if you want them to do something, you need to do it. They're going to mirror you and what you're doing, and you balance as much as possible. I also want to talk about the importance of dads. Ironically, I raised kids without a father. And through the years, we have found that role to be quite valuable. And while I asked for leaders and home teachers and whatever through the years, or ministering angels, what do we call them now, to to come be a part and take that place, it's just not the same. It's just not the same. I have my youngest son just refused to go to father-son campouts. He didn't care if a home teacher was going to take on more. Some leader, he said, Mom, it's just not the same. I get to see what everybody else has. And what I'm missing out on. Sorry. Can I blame that on the laryngitis? Anyway, so the role of father is so vitally important. So to all your moms that have a child's father in their life, let them be in their life. Your kids will grow up happier. Sorry, laryngitis is kicking in. Your kids will grow up happier with stronger self-esteems and will be more solid in who they are, and will also be able to be more grounded in the gospel. Now, I have had miracles happen with my kids. Miracles. I've had 3 of my 4 sons to serve missions. Sorry. Hours about up with my laryngitis. I've got a couple of kids graduated college. My daughter's about to get a grad degree, and actually in marriage and family therapy. I've had my kids are all successful in different ways, and they're all pretty grounded. I didn't have any of them go out drinking or doing drugs or whatever, which I'm very grateful for. Which statistically we defied those odds, because a lot of kids that grow up in homes without a father, that is one of the big things that they do, is that they generally experience things like that. Now, I do have one of my kids is not active in the church. And, that they've got to find their way. And that's okay. So it's not perfect, but it's real. But anyway, it's been something to me. And I really want to emphasize to you the fact that fathers, you dads, play a vital role. And it's more than just having fun. And it's more than just paying child support or alimony or whatever your obligations are. You play a role that cannot be replaced. It's a given most of the time that moms are going to be there. But dads are really taken for granted. And so this is something that's very important that I feel like cannot be emphasized enough. That role as dad needs to be it just needs to be there. You've got to be a part of their life. And it's not perfect, and that's okay. It can't be perfect. I don't know about you, but there's not much that is. Dawn, did you have a comment to make?
Sure. Comments about the fathers.
Okay.
Yeah, in regard to that subject, there is a phenomenon that is nationwide referred to as parental alienation. And it usually is inflicted upon the non-custodial parent. As you mentioned, the custodial parent is usually the woman and their mother. And many times, regardless of the cause of divorce, if there was anyone at fault, regardless of whoever was at fault, the custodial parent will frequently want to eliminate that other parent from the lives of the children. These are my children. I have them. He doesn't have them. And that can be, that influence can be inflicted upon the children in very subtle ways.
Right.
In very overt ways, the court system, if the judge awards custody of the children to the mother, there's a pretty widespread movement in this country pushing for equal parenting. And some states have legislation by which there will be a presumption of equal custody in divorce cases, a rebuttable presumption of equal custody. If the one parent is a drug dealer or a prostitute or something like that, the person would not have.
Thank you.
Now, in Zoom meetings several times a week, and the Zoom meetings in which I participate, multiple people can be seen. The people who are in the Zoom meeting can all be seen, like a split screen.
Right. Yeah, we're not doing that right now because this is a webinar setting and because we've got so many people that are on. So, basically, you raise your hand when you want to talk, and I can unmute you. But otherwise, we have different people that are panelists and different people that are attendees, and that's the way this works. So you'll come on as an attendee, and then raise your hand. The panelists are generally people that will be our guests for the week. So awesome. Okay. So Melanie, did you have a comment you wanted to make? Can you hear me? I don't know if she can hear me. All righty. So I'm going to go back now to sharing my screen real quick. All right. Now let's hit on dating real quick. And we're going to get into this more in weeks ahead. We won't have a big conversation about this right now. But relationships can be fun. And now we have our kids, we have our independence, we can be more intentional and clear about what we want in our next relationship. And that can be a pro and a con. So I've seen people's lists a mile long, and I've seen others that are just trying to wing it. So basically in the months ahead or in the weeks ahead, we're going to be talking about when are you ready? We're going to be talking about how to date, do's and don'ts of dating, and how has dating changed. We're going to be talking about so much more than that, but that's part of it. And then the single adult program. The single adult program, per the handbook in the church, is single members are divided into two groups, period. Single adults are ages 31 and older, and young single adults are 18 to 30. I know some people talk about mid-single adults, but the church has not officially created that age group. What they have done instead, if you'll read the handbook, is in areas where stake presidencies feel it necessary, they can create a mid-single adult ward. There's some areas that do activities geared toward mid-single adults. Right now, we don't have enough participation, like I said earlier, to be able to do that, although we are not opposed to that. We've even entertained the thought of doing a mini conference for mid-single adults or that kind of thing. or even other activities or events for them. So we will see how that works out. The other things is that as a committee, we are told and advised that we are to plan ways to give single adults opportunities to come together for service, gospel learning, and sociality beyond our wards. And that's the sole purpose of the single adult program. Now, I have an incredibly strong testimony of the single adult program. It has been a source of strength and inspiration to me. I know there was one day, I remember years ago, my kids were still pretty young, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and I had gone to a single adult event the night before, the day before or something, and I had a kid, one of my kids came up to me and said, "Mom, are you going to be going back to any of those other single adult things that you go to?" And I said, "Yeah, probably." "Why?" He goes, "Good." And I'm like, kind of giving him a hard time, going, "Why, you want to get rid of me?" And he goes, "No, you come back happier." It's like laryngitis, people. For me, it was a de-stressor because I felt the weight of the world on me. And it's a way I just learned to go with the mindset of I was connecting with friends. I was there to make friends. And I have a lot of friends. I have so many wonderful friends. They have my heart. And through the single adult program, I've been able to not only create friendships, but to create a social group that I needed. And it gave me the means to be able to meet a need that I didn't even know I had, to be able to an outlet, if you will, to do that. And now, would I give it up to get married? Oh, heck yeah. Not that I want to give up my friends, but I definitely give up having to go to single adult events. So I don't want to give that impression. But I am grateful for the opportunity and for the inspiration that the leaders of the church have to create a program that is so, so needed in the church. So many people need us as friends. They need our stories, they need our experiences, they need our perspectives. They need us, and we need you. We need all of you to be able to come and edify and strengthen us and inspire us, and no matter where you're at. I know some of you are newly single. Some of you have been single a while. Some of you have never been married. Some of you are divorced or widowed. You all have come with a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different stories, a lot of different experiences. And I'm telling you, it is so vitally important that we all come together unified to this program to strengthen each other, to edify and to uplift. When you can go about when you can approach this program in that way, you will find that will be huge. And your perspective is going to shift. Because I'm going to tell you now, if you think for a second that you're going to walk into a room at a single adult event, you're going to look across the room and you're going to see your forever love, you will leave sorely disappointed. It's not going to happen. I'm not saying that it can't. The Lord does promise miracles sometimes, but most of the time, 99.9% of the time, that's not going to happen. Because we've all been through a lot. We've all been through different experiences. So there are different people that will come in. And I know I tell people all the time, I said, especially if it's their first time, I said, come find me and give me a hug. Because I want people to know they've got a friend there. And it's huge. It's so huge to walk into a single adult event for the first time, especially if you've got to go by yourself. I still don't like going to single adult events by myself, but most of the time I'm in charge of them and I got to go anyway by myself. But if I'm going somewhere else, you better believe I got a couple of friends that we're all carpooling to the event. And that's fine. But just know that we are all in this together at the same time for some reason. I don't know the reason, but I do know that there is one. And we were all meant to be together at the same time in the same place for some reason. And it's to help each other. Let's be friends. Let's build those relationships. Let's strengthen that unity. Let's be there for each other. There's so much about being single in the church that can be wonderful. Even if it's temporary, it can be a good, positive experience. I could have easily have turned what I went through into a bitter, hateful, pessimistic, whatever negative thing you wanted to say. I could have easily have turned it into that, but I chose not to. Now, did that happen overnight? Oh no, not even close. It took me a couple of years, but it took me a couple of years of constantly working on it and trying to change my mindset. It took me a couple of years. I went through a couple of years of regular therapy. It took me time to figure out what it was about me that attracted a man like that, right? Because I'm going to tell you now, while what he did was horrendous and it was awful, I will tell you that there was something about me that was attracted to an abuser. And I don't have time to get into that. I'm not going to. I just know that I've gotten out of that. And I can easily walk away from it now because I recognize it. I recognize the signs. I know what it looks like. And there's no way. But most people that know me now would not have guessed I was anywhere close to what I went through. Because the person I am now is so drastically different from the person I was 12 years ago when I walked out of that marriage. So it takes a lot of soul searching. It takes a lot of rediscovery. It takes a lot of personal development. This is the time to really focus on, circling back to my first slide, your relationship with the Lord. I was not regularly attending the temple when I was married. I had a temple that was 2.5 hours away, or maybe even almost 3 hours away. I lived in a suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina, and our closest temple was Columbia, South Carolina. It wasn't easy. I still went to the temple, but I did not go regularly. I probably went a couple of times a year if we had a really study trip or that kind of thing. But now that I'm closer here in Atlanta, it takes me like 50 minutes to an hour to drive. I'm there at least once a month. Before my son left for his mission, he wanted to go weekly with me, and we went weekly. Was that a sacrifice? Yeah, but we went. And it was special, and it was important. And I had those memories with him that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And he even did the family history to get the family names so that we could do it. How was I going to say no to that, right? So anyway, oh my, laryngitis. Anyway, so we're going to talk more about this in the weeks to come. But I'm so excited you guys joined us. And I hope that this was beneficial to you. I hope that you're able to gain a lot out of this and be able to know that there's a purpose for you being single. I don't know what your direct purpose is, but I do know that we all have a purpose, and we all have a purpose in life and in the church. And our stories will one day inspire others. That is one thing that I did learn when I was going through my separation. In North Carolina, you had to be separated a year before you could file for divorce. That's why I tell you the difference in the times. No matter what, you had to wait a year, which I thought was ridiculous, but whatever. Anyway, so I remember during that time, there was a friend of mine, and she and I had a mutual friend, and she was going through a divorce at the same time. And this mutual friend comes to me, and she goes, "Paula, you just won't believe this." She said, so this friend of mine, she was going through a divorce, and her husband had had an affair. And she was trying to console this friend, or this mutual friend was trying to console her. And she goes, "Oh, no, it's all good. I'm going to be okay. At least I'm not going through what Paula Sherrill is going through." So it could be worse. It could be better, but it could be worse. But what I have learned in the years is that I've been able to help others who've gone through similar situations. Because sadly, my situation was not unique. Thankfully, it's more unique than most, but it is not incredibly unique. A lot of parents have experienced what I have gone through, and so a lot of single parents anyway. So anyway, it is something to just to know that you have a purpose, and one day your story is going to mean something. And right now, I want to open this up for other questions. If anyone has a question, just raise your hand. I will unmute you. Don, did you have another question or comment?
Yes, I missed the first part of this broadcast.
What was that?
I said, yes, I missed the first part of this broadcast, but I heard you speaking earlier about family home evening groups and starting family home evening groups. And I definitely think that is an excellent idea.
Okay, awesome. Just so you know, in the handbook, it does state that they don't want us using the word family. We just call them home evening groups. Keep it simple that way. So yeah, but that's a great idea. I'm loving it. So so definitely. Linda, did you have another comment you wanted to make?
I had put a text through. I was wondering if you could possibly email those, your PowerPoint or the sheets.
What was that?
I was wondering if you'd be able to email copies of your PowerPoint.
I can't hear you for some reason. You're so low.
Oh, I'm sorry. I typed it in the sidebar there.
Okay. Oh, email. Oh, yeah. I'm recording this, so this will actually be uploaded to YouTube, so you'll be able to see that. Okay?
I didn't get to my question.
What was that?
I said I did not get to my question.
You didn't get what?
I didn't get to my question.
Oh, sorry. What was that?
My question. That's my question. Well, now, do you know of people? I'm in the Charlotte Central State. Do you know people in this area who would like to form an evening group or a social group, a non-family home evening group? And I used to go to a group. Do you remember Cheryl Earnhardt?
Okay, so I'm in the Atlanta area. What I would recommend that you do is contact one of your stake representatives or stake committee members. I think Sharon Lentz would be a good one to reach out to for that one. Rex Lindsay would be another good one for you to reach out to.
Yeah, I saw them both.
Yeah, I think I would start there with those two. Those two would be great, and they're just awesome to work with, and I think that would be quite powerful. Okay, that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. All righty. All right, Tom, did you have a comment?
I just thought that maybe I could get up a packet. I'd done this before and send to anybody that wants it, either by email or by physical address. Procedures and things that you could think about to get things going, in your area.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
All right, great idea. All right, anybody else? Roger, did you have a comment?
I'm good.
Okay. All
Thank you.
right, no problem. Anyone else for questions? Okay. Well, this has been awesome. I'm excited. So grateful that you spent your evening with me, and we'll do this again next week. As the weeks go on, we're going to just progress with our different ideas and our different conversations, and we're going to be opening this up for everybody. We'll be talking about just varying things, different things. And I look forward to getting to know everybody and to talk to you along the way. So for tonight, I'm signing off. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Have a great evening.